Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
The New Orleans Saints made a couple roster moves yesterday. They signed tight end Jesse James and fullback Jake Bargas and released kicker Alex Quevedo. When it comes to releasing the kicker, I mean, okay, the Saints were carrying 3 kickers through OTAs and right to this point in the offseason. Now it's just Will Lutz and Blake Group. I mean, look, you would think it's Lutz's job, and I mean, I guess until he loses it. Will Lutz wasn't great last year, but I still think I'd be surprised sitting here on June 1st if there's a different kicker for the New Orleans Saints other than Will Lutz, unless he is injured again. But if he's healthy, I would expect it. I would expect it to be Lutz's job. When you look at Jake Bargas, that puts 2 fullbacks on the Saints roster right now, along with Adam Prentice. Again, Adam Prentice has been with the New Orleans Saints now for a very long time. I mean, that's kind of they normally don't carry 2, so we'll see how that goes. With that, you have a 90-man roster right now. Use the spots. I get it. The one that's the most interesting is Jesse James, the tight end. Saints needed a little bit more depth there. Of course, he had Foster Moreau, but you thought there's a chance they would end up getting another body. And right now, it's Jesse James, 28 years old, comes from Cleveland. Only played 2 games last year. It was a biceps injury that kept him out. Really sent him to IR, and he was gone for a while. But a veteran player in the league. First year was 2015 with Pittsburgh, spent 4 seasons there, 2 with Detroit, 1 with Chicago, last year with Cleveland, and now will be with the Saints. Big body, like typical tight end body that you want to see, 6'7", 251. Feels like, I mean, can block, can catch the ball as well. So not pigeonholed into inline or the receiving tight end mold that you see so much. For what it's worth, the best season was 2018 with the Steelers. Caught 30 balls for 423 yards and 2 touchdowns that year. It's interesting because now I would say your tight end room's full, right? I mean, you got Juwan Johnson, you got Foster Moreau, got Lucas Kroll, you've got Miller Forrestall, and you add Jesse James. And oh, by the way, then there's Taysom Hill. And that's kind of the interesting part about this. So whenever the Saints signed Jesse James last night, one of the first things that popped into my head was, okay, what about Taysom Hill? And again, does Jesse James make this roster? I don't know. Maybe not. It's week 2 of OTAs. It's June 1st. We'll see. Would it surprise me if he didn't? No. Would it surprise me if he did? No. But it just made me think about this. And again, it's not specific to him. It's just what made me think about it, because Foster Moreau kind of creates the same conundrum. Taysom Hill last year, 33% of his snaps came on offense. About an average of 20 of those per game came at tight end. When you really look at where Taysom Hill had the success last year, it was on the ground out of that quarterback, draw, the Taysom package that we've all come to know and love, right? 96 carries, 575 yards for Taysom Hill on the ground last year, and 7 touchdowns. Your main tight ends were Juwan Johnson and Adam Troutman. So, in theory, does it not change Taysom Hill's role very much this year? Maybe. Because you have Foster Moreau to replace Troutman, and they made the commitment to Juwan Johnson. I think it's interesting in the sense that maybe that's kind of slipped between the cracks a little bit. Is, okay, they keep stocking up and getting these new tight ends. That's always been one of Taysom Hill's roles. Do you see him? I mean, like last year, he's listed on the roster as tight end. Remember, that was the whole conversation too with Dennis Allen in his first year of, okay, what is Taysom's role going to be? And he said, no, he's not really in the quarterback room anymore. He's transitioning to tight end, and he'll do the special teams thing. And it's not that he won't take snaps at quarterback. I mean, because obviously he did. That's where he ran the ball out of most. But last year was the very first year Taysom Hill was actually listed as tight end. My thought process on that is, okay, so if Jesse James does make this roster, does Taysom Hill just go back to wide receiver? And then you move him in, you use him in that role, and then obviously in the Taysom package at quarterback where it's been very successful. I don't think one thing's for sure, you're not going to see less of Taysom Hill. Like, I think you still see the same touches. Like, he had 105 touches last year and 652 yards total from scrimmage. I don't expect that to decrease. I'm just wondering now, and depending on what happens with James, if he makes the roster or not, do you see him get those touches in a little bit different ways? It's so funny. We've talked a lot about the Saints offense this week, and we haven't really talked about Taysom Hill. And he's such a massive part of what the Saints do. We've talked so much more about Juwan Johnson, about Derek Carr, about Rashid Shaheed and how he fits into the receiver room. Taysom Hill is still that Swiss Army knife that, has been so good to the Saints ever since he got on with them in 2017 and has been able to play just a variety of different roles. For what it's worth, obviously, Taysom Hill has not been at OTAs yet. And most of the work for the tight ends has been Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, and Lucas Kroll. Miller Forrestall has been present but not participating per reports. OTAs are voluntary. I think you get a much clearer picture of how this may look come mandatory minicamp later this month, where Taysom Hill will be there, and you can see a little bit more how he moves through. It's funny, when we talked about the Jameis Winston conversation yesterday, and him being the backup to Derek Carr, we didn't even really mention Taysom Hill in that regard either. It's just kind of funny how he's flown under the radar. And again, probably a lot of that is because he's not present at OTAs. But just something to keep an eye on, something to kind of remember. See what happens with Jesse James. That's going to give you 3 tight ends there that you can really count on. Where does Taysom Hill get to those touches? Because he's going to keep his workload. It just might be in a different role. I think for me, the most logical thing would be putting back at wide receiver, listing back at wide receiver, and you can just move him all around the field like you do anyway. It's putting a position on Taysom Hill is ridiculous because he doesn't have one. You've seen the guy line up at quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end. He is punt block. He's punt block and punt safe and the punt protector. Like, he just, I don't know, one of a kind. You're not going to see a player like that very often in the National Football League. And glad the Saints have him. And one thing's for certain, he'll get his.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.